From the compulsions of vote bank closer home that are actually allowing an influx of illegals into our country to the compulsions of vote bank over halfway around the world, ladies and gentlemen, which is allowing a free run for secessionists who aim to break India, bleed India. Khalistani Separatists have been running anti-India propaganda on foreign soil, using foreign land as a platform to defame Bharat and also to push this break India policy agenda of theirs. Time and again, India has voiced concern over the free run that these K-radicals are enjoying. And now there's pressure on the West to crack down on these secessionists. But it seems like some nations are still in denial. Canada Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, when questioned on allegations of taking a soft stance on separatist attacks, stated that India is wrong and that Canada has always taken threats of violence seriously and acted against them. UK Foreign Secretary condemning the attacks on the Indian High Commission in London, saying that it was made clear that the safety of the staff at the High Commission is paramount. But is condemnation enough? And they say any direct attack at the consulate. That's the wording. Now, is this vote bank politics that's derailing action against separatist elements who are spreading propaganda against Bharat? We debate and discuss that, but first let's listen into what Justin Trudeau said and how the MEA responded.
They are wrong. Canada has always taken extremely seriously violence and threats of violence. We've always taken serious action against terrorism, and we always will.
It is a matter of concern that freedom of expression and speech is once again being misused by anti-India elements based in Canada and elsewhere. And we continue to press the Canadian side to ensure that our diplomats can carry out their normal functions without fear or intimidation. We have seen some comments, at least the media reports about comments by Prime Minister Trudeau. But let me make the larger point that the issue is not about freedom of expression, but its misuse for advocating violence, for propagating separatism, and for legitimizing terrorism.
Dr. Walter C. Ladwig, Senior Lecturer in International Relations in the Department of War Studies at King's College London, joins us tonight. Puneet Sahni, Sikh activist, and also Ambassador Deepak Vora. Namaste. Thank you very, very much. Dr. Ladwig, how would you see the response by these nations and what should India do?
Well, the UK has taken note of what happened back in March, and particularly these very suggestive flyers that have been circulated ahead of this demonstration on Saturday. The language used on them, the pictures of Ambassador Doraiswamy and other diplomats, really comes right up to the line of questions about what is acceptable and what is inciting violence and coming up to be a threat. So I would hope that the foreign minister's comments are backed up by very serious action by the Metropolitan Police to make sure that the High Commission site is very well protected on Saturday.
Delhi, comparatively, Ambassador Deepak Vora, is absolutely safe, isn't it? Why do the US consulates, Canadian consulates, British consulates need additional protection? If the people of India are free, then any national is free, any consulate is free.
Thank you very much, sir. It's always a pleasure to be on your channel.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it's a great honor. Millions of people watch. You are outstanding in every which way. Or you make around, they'll say, I'm not saying this just for impact. You are really outstanding. Now, we're talking about Canada and we're talking about England. Let me just tell you, British problem is atavism, living in the past. The empire is over, but they don't accept this. They've done it with Muslims from several countries, thinking that they would give them asylum in England and then use these guys to put pressure on the host government. They're trying to do the same with the Khalistanis. Look, this doesn't fool anybody. I mean, the British are legends in their own minds. They've lost it completely. Now I come to this other fellow, this buffoon, what's his name? Justin Trudeau. The fellow comes here, wears Indian clothes, does some kind of weird tribal dance and says this is Bhangra. And then he gets clobbered by the Chinese leader in Bali. And then he sort of mocks the former US president on camera. This is not statesmanship. This is the politics of the gutter which these guys indulge in. Look, the Khalistani movement, sir, in India died pretty much by the mid-90s. Operation Blue Star was done. we know what happened, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into that. But then it survives overseas. Sir, I have been in diplomacy 50 years and counting. I'm 72 years now and I've studied history. No country has been broken up by external forces. Sir, Bangladesh, I don't know how old you are, but if you remember, the movement in Bangladesh began in Bangladesh. Yeah. The refugees came to India. The movement for the separation of South Sudan, I was your ambassador, began in South Sudan. It wasn't Libya or Kenya or Uganda that were putting pressure. It has to begin there. So these jokers sitting in the relative comfort of their homes in Canada and the United Kingdom, they are using the Sikhs in India as cannon fodder. Fortunately, sir, less than 1/1,000,000th of 1% of the Sikhs here actually believe this nonsense.
Yes.
Those who do, and I have many Sikh friends, sir, they are very happy to accept the money that comes through whatever channels, hawala or banking, and then they do what they have to. Sir, I just wanted to say that I'm sitting here a half Sikh. My mother was a Sikh. My father was a Hindu. So I know what partition, what the so-called partition, which is the break of India, was all about. I just want to quote from the Guru Granth Sahib, sir. If you permit me, you know, there is this thing, Agya Bhai Akal Ki Tabi Chalayo Panth, Sab Sikhan Nu Hukam Hai, Guru Manyo Granth. And then the most important couplet, Guru Manyo Granth, Pargat Gurandi De, Jo Prabhu Nu Milna Chahe, Khod Shabad Mile. That whoever wants to meet God, you can find him in the Guru Granth Sahib. And then I'll add to that, whoever wants to meet the devil, you go and talk to the Khalistanis, you'll find him there, sir.
But something has to be done, Puneet Sahni. The response, is that adequate, or does India have to has to look at some other measures? We've talked about it in the past.
Anand.
Ji, namaste.
So actually, I want to say 2 points, but maybe I can quickly make like comments to what Professor and Ambassador said. So I'll just bring you, even when Mrs. Gandhi died in 1984. There is I even put it on my Twitter. In Britain, this Khalistanis, they basically started dancing. She was a very loved leader, and outside the Hindu neighborhoods, and even the BBC asked, like, what the hell are you doing? You have killed a very popular leader and you're celebrating. And what if there is a response from the Hindus against the Sikhs? Because you're making a celebration of it. And even that, and the Khalistanis in UK said, we don't care. What happens. We said 6 months earlier that we will kill, and he used a very bad word for Mrs. Gandhi, and we said, and we will kill again. And it was so bad in UK at that time. I'm telling you history. She was the Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher. She had to come on television and condemn what these Khalistanis were doing on the UK. And of course, it is, and what, Ambassador Vora was saying, of course, nobody can break India. But the thing is, a few people can create a disruption where thousands can die. This is very possible. I will tell you, Anand, people think Bhindranwala was very popular. Actually, when, he campaigned, and his right-hand man, you can't imagine, his name was Amrik Singh, the son of his guru. He lost this Gurdwara election from Monga. They couldn't win. They had no support even then. And I've done a lot of research and given all the data. Jee. So it's not whether they can break India or not. A few people can basically cause havoc. That is true. And we should be very careful about that. Now, I want to say my thing, what this Trudeau has said. He has not just, given some political statement. He has said absolute lies. Absolute lies. And I give you, with thing. So when investigation happened, India, we had so many challenges, but we were giving them intelligence all the time that, these people want to blow up the plane. And, and they had to look after just this bunch of Khalistani terrorists who were planning to, and they failed. And, they said we had no intelligence, but when this investigation proper happened, they found out they had all the intelligence. And they are so shameless people that their attorney general lied in the parliament that we had actually no intelligence. That it all came out. That India gave not just like random threats, but very specific, these people, they want to do it, it will be like this, and they do it. And this Trudeau family, as I want to say, Pierre Trudeau, you will be surprised, and it's good that, we have professor from London. And the main guy who was found in the investigation, who was the architect and the mastermind of Air India bombing, his name was Talvinder Singh Parmar. India asked for his extradition in 1982 that he had done killings in India. You know why Trudeau's father rejected the extradition? He said because, India is not like a proper member of the Commonwealth which accepts the Queen. They did not give because we don't accept the Queen, and that man went on to become the greatest mass murderer in Canadian history. And this Justin Trudeau himself, he has gone out of his way from coast to coast to destroy all Sikhs who speak against Khalistan terrorism. I already told, in your previous episode on the West Coast in Vancouver, I tell you in the East Coast, these people are so despicable. They did in 218, there was a report of the Canadian intelligence, that this Khalistan and Sikh extremism is one of the 5 greatest threats facing Canada.
Yeah.
And, they said remove Sikh terrorism, and then they say remove Khalistani terrorism. So this Sikh parliamentarian, which is full of, this Punjabis, Brampton, which is like the south all of, UK. He said, how can you say that? I'm a proud Sikh, but I'm against Khalistan terrorism. How can you remove this? Do you know he was kicked out of the party? And you know what this henchman of Trudeau called him? He was kicked out because he's a racist. A Sikh standing up against Khalistan terrorism becomes a racist. No, we are, and they have basically, it's outrageous, of course, and you feel like laughing. But if they can destroy the member of parliament who wins from the votes of Punjabis, then what an average person can say on the ground? They have terrorized everybody on the ground. There is no voice. With Twitter, there is me and Terry Miller. Yeah, please go.
Yeah. So you've said a lot of facts, but what does India do? Dr. Ladwig, right. I'm just going to bring in Professor Dr. Ladwig again. How do we sort this? If nations are going to be so brazen, then there has to be a quid pro quo, or should there be a diplomatic offensive? What should India do beyond trying to convince them?
Two-pronged. One is to say, and picking up the last point, intelligence sharing. If there is information on specific individuals and chatter about specific actions, absolutely that needs to be passed and shared. There were reports that India had done this ahead of the March attacks on the High Commission here, and for whatever reason, it fell short in terms of the Met's response. But I think Cleverly's comments suggested that won't happen again. But I think, secondly, we have to recognize that they are picking targets designed specifically to provoke, right? Look at the ambassador's comment. They're targeting soft targets in the United States, coming right on the heels of the Prime Minister's very successful visit. They're targeting the UK, where India and the UK have moved much closer in recent years. They're trying to drive a wedge between India and its partners in the world. So while pressing this case, we have to be careful to not fall out amongst each other, because that's exactly what they're trying to do.
You make a fair point, but that you can clap with two hands. We say it in Hindi, कि ताली दो हाथ से बजती. You both sides have to work in tandem. So if India is sharing intelligence, a Goldie Brar, a wanted criminal, is in Canada. He has not yet been nabbed. So if the Canadian authorities are not willing to work with the Indian authorities, Ambassador Deepak Vohra, then their intent is that let there be a certain amount of friction. Do they really want to use it as leverage? Is it going to work?
It's not going to work at all. They know nothing about India. The more you trouble us, the tougher we become. Sir, there are 3 things involved. One is diplomatic outreach, as the professor has very rightly said. We have to reach out to members of our diaspora. And by the way, I served in the United States in the mid-80s. I was there when Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated. I saw the demonstrations outside the Embassy of India. I was standing right out there. And then there were threats against me. And so let me tell you something. And this is for the millions of people watching your show. And the FBI fellow who was protecting me, he said, I was the first secretary. He said, sir, if these guys get you, they're not going to get what they want in India. Eliminating 500 Indian diplomats doesn't make that kind of a difference. It'll mess up our relationship with the host country. So the first thing is diplomatic outreach, and I'm now seeing that the Indian diaspora is telling these guys, whether they are Islamic radicals or Sikh radicals or whatever, that you guys behave yourselves, otherwise now we are getting mobilized and we'll teach you a lesson. Second, sir, Canada and all these other fellows, they need me much more than I need them. I'm the 4th largest economy in the world. They are looking for my market. The China dream for them is over. We teach them a lesson. And sir, the third thing, I'm saying it, but I'm not saying it. A few of these chaps have gone to meet their maker. So perhaps
some more should follow. That's what some more should follow is what you're saying. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. I'm running out of time. Thank you for your time. We'll continue these conversations and look forward to having you joining us.